we're here today for the West Coast edition of the Hashtag Finance podcast. Earlier, we had a chance to talk to Trevor Doerksen, who's the president CEO of ePlay Digital. We had a quick chat about his transition during these times. We talked a little bit about his newest initiative and the game that they just launched, Outbreak, the partnership with Howie Mandel. We've actually got the pleasure of having Howie himself come talk to us right now. So we're going to bring him in and talk a little bit about his passion behind creating this charity, the game. We'll talk a little bit about the past and maybe a little bit about Howie's views as a Canadian entrepreneur. So without further ado, I would like to bring in Howie Mandel. Also, we've got a guest, James Black, VP of Listings Development from the CSC, will be joining us on this edition of the podcast. So without waiting too long, let's get into the chat.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Howie. Thanks for joining us. Where are you based today? Where's home?
Los Angeles.
LA.
I'm in Los Angeles. I'm in my house in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That's where I'm based. It's my home base. Well, it's my home.
It's your home.
Where I base everything from. Yes.
And I guess, Anil and I just want to know how you're doing and how the quarantine is treating you. It's
well, I think it's treating me like everybody else.
Yeah.
How am I doing at this moment as we're speaking? I'm fine. It's a roller coaster, and I've been very open and vocal about, I have mental health issues, and this is, weighs heavily on people who suffer from anxiety and depression and OCD. So, I'm surrounded by an amazing family and friends, and but from a socially
suitable distance, you have friends
within 6 feet. I have really good people, and so I'm doing fine. And my heart goes out to each and every human being. It's kind of weird, because this is to be honest with you, this is the life I've been living for the last 64 years, and to have the world join me on my neurosis there is some
you're taking some pleasure in it.
No, absolutely no pleasure, but there is I kind of feel like I'm an expert.
Okay.
In kind of sequestering yourself and being nervous, and now everybody is sequestering themselves and feeling nervous. And I feel like I can reach out and give some people some coping skills and how I get through each and every day. And so,
there's some pro tips. Then Neil and I need to know how to get through this, because we've made it through about 4 weeks.
5 weeks, yeah.
Well, the best we have to show for it is some facial hair. I mean, what else do you have to say? I mean, routine wise,
you have a family. I'm here with in the house. My kids are all grown, and I have grandkids, so we're finding different ways to cope. I went through my 40th wedding anniversary on the 3rd day of quarantine, and it was kind of nice, rather than doing something very celebratory. It was just her and I together, and then a week later she told me we will not be making it to 41. So there's good and there's bad in everything. And to go and see my grandchildren, I put on a mask, I get in the car, I go to their home, and I climb a tree, and I have to look in the window. I'm not allowed in the house. And so it's weird, but it's wonderful, and we're all in this together. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're going to get through this, and hopefully we take some of these lessons that we're learning now in this pandemic and use them on the other side.
Yeah. What about you, Neil?
I've been cooped up in a 1-bedroom apartment. It's been fun. My son, who is now 18, only comes by when I'm making something good to eat, and probably can only handle me for 4 days at a time, and then he's gone back to his mom's house. So other than being stuck around the house, it's definitely business as usual. It's a blessing to not have the stress of looking for work and stuff like that, and to be able to continue your day-to-day life, even though things are a little bit different. And today is a beautiful, gorgeous day here in Vancouver. So having to be stuck indoors on a day like this definitely hurts, but I'm healthy, I'm happy, I'm safe. Can't have anything else.
Yeah. And I think you touched on one thing, is the work. So I find the work has been a real key to getting through every day, not just, with the children, but with you and Anil and our team here, the Canadian Securities Exchange, where we work, Howie. Maybe just talk a bit, Howie, about the work that you do. First, let's, how does your regular Showtime business life continue in this environment? And then we can talk about.
Well, it's not regular. So what happens is when all this started, I was in the midst of taping season 15 of America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And then we slowly watched that diminish. And what I mean by slowly is because, this hit the news, and then we were talking about what was happening, and then there was some adjustments made, and we lost the audience. And then we were taping without an audience because of social distancing, which was so weird to have this panel of me and Heidi Klum and Sofia Vergara and Simon and Terry, and then a big act would come out on stage, and we're in this cavernous theater, and there's nobody. And then Heidi got sick, and then we were all worried and had to be tested, so she left. So now then there was 3. And then we were told that we have to stop that. So we went home. And as of yesterday, we've been taping some stuff mobily. It is a reality show. This is our reality. So this will be part of what you see on season 15. And then because I am who I am, and we talked about this because of my who I am, with mental health issues and that. Mm-hmm. One of the great panaceas for me just remaining level is distraction. And my distraction has always been, just piling on an incredible amount of work. And if I'm not touring and doing stand-up comedy, then I was doing AGT, or I was producing something, or I was partnering with Trevor. This is way before this because we wanted to do some e-commerce games, and there's I'll tell you about another company that I was also partnering with, which is Talk Shop Live.
Okay.
But it was serendipitous in the sense that having met these 2 people, because we wanted to, the way I'm distracting myself now, and I think that a lot of people are doing it, and this is what it's showing us, is humility and humanity of being able to reach out and kind of identify what the issues are and do what you can to help somebody in need, or a business in need, or as we the economy. So to that end, first and foremost with Trevor's company, I was doing games.
Yeah. And
because I'm a well-known germaphobe, we were doing a game called Breakout. And it was, and it's going to, with the plan that it was going to expand into a multi-platform.
The Howieverse, maybe, of video games, or just.
Yeah, like just because I'm really interested in technology, and we were going to do something like a Pokemon Go, an AR game, which we're still developing, where people just walk around and they try to buy, they try to infect me. They score points by sneezing on me, touching me, kissing me, licking me, and infecting me.
You gotta find you come close to you.
This is to dissuade people from doing it in real life, I guess. Was that?
But it was like Pokemon Go. There were lures and things like that. That's what the game was. And then we had these small little games that were within it, and one is called Breakout, and it's like Candy Crush, but with bacteria and germs. So if you line up the same color of germs and Candy Crush, and that breaks the chain before it hits the cavernous wall, it's really easy. If you go to howiesgames.com, that's what it was going to be. But when this came out, I said, listen, there's no charge for the game. If you go to that website, howiesgames.com, you can download the game. It's absolutely free, and donate. And we have, corporate partners. Every cent goes to buying PPE, personal protective, like masks and hazmat suits and gloves for all the frontliners. So hopefully, this kind of thing that we were developing is now just about having people kind of be distracted by playing the game. You can download the game and donating and, kind of servicing the need of the frontline workers.
Yeah, it's incredibly important. I've got friends in healthcare as well, and they're at the hospital every day, and I've got friends who are physicians, and thankfully for a lot of the people who work in family medicine, they've been able to do telehealth. So you mentioned about some of the ways we've evolved. Telehealth has been one where we've been long overdue in Canada, at least, to be able to deploy basic, think about it. You're a doctor on the front line, someone comes in with a cold, you get 10 of those people every day. Do you really need to meet them in person? I mean, really? It's
for certain things. I tried this telehealth thing, but I just I had my prostate checked, over
Yeah, that's
telehealth.
hard to do over the phone. They haven't invented that. Maybe there's an AR version you can.
No, he told me what to do, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but it's something really personal.
Yeah, no, that's tough. Okay, so you've got the game. People can contribute.
Howiesgames.com. Yeah, so they can
Howiesgames.com.
contribute, and that's that. And then I'm also, cognizant of the fact, I come from retail and I come from small business, and I believe to this day that, business and predominantly small business is the lifeblood of our economy. Ultimately, even if these huge corporations, they serve the smaller business. Everybody's, I'm always
comes from. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm always fascinated, like when you go down, Main Street, Vancouver, Toronto, Yonge Street, and you see all these little, businesses, and every, 20 feet, there's another business, and you figure this person has overhead. This person has rent to pay. This person has food to eat. And then they got to sell, and sometimes their products are only like $10 products. How many $10 products and take the profit do they have to live? And these are the people that buy tickets to my shows. These are the people that invest in the stock exchange. These are the people. And when that stops, the world stops.
The world stops. What about the comedy business? How's that gonna? I assume people are moving. Like you've seen people like Mark Maron move to podcasts. You've seen a lot of people move into that format. But the old stand and deliver comedy. How is that going to evolve when you can't even tape a special or go to a club and work on material? You mentioned that.
Well, you can't go to clubs. I just did a benefit. We had this huge benefit for Comedy Gives Back, where there are a group of comics. I'm pretty lucky, but there's a lot of young comics out there who just make their living as road warriors. They're just going from club to club to club to casino. Casinos are closed. The clubs are closed. There's no crews. They have no way of making money. This is changing everything. Yeah. That being said, I believe that necessity is the mother of invention. And I feel like people are going to learn new ways of doing things, of producing things, of selling things. And that's what, there's going to be a big shift in our economy, and the economy of comedy and entertainment, the economy of, whether it's just regular retail or how we do business is really, and I think it was, we were primed for this. The technology was far ahead of the creativity, and now we're forced to be a little more creative. I'll give you an example. Along with Trevor and my gaming, are you familiar with who they are? Hello?
Yeah, sorry, I'm here. You're just cutting out a bit there.
I don't know.
Did I lose you?
No, I can hear you.
Okay, there's a company called Talk Shop Live. Do you know who they are?
I do not know.
Shop. Yeah. Okay, so Talk Shop Live created this technology where very easily you download their app, and you could broadcast on any of your social platforms. So you can broadcast on Facebook or on Instagram or wherever. And there's a buy button. They do all the back rooms. So you can actually sell your product right here virtually. You have your own home shopping network. So it's another way to do business. So I was doing business with them anyhow, and I started this this program with them where every other week I just did the first one last week. There was a bakery. There's a young lady named Cindy who has a bakery on the North Shore of Lake Michigan. She's in Chicago. And her bakery just people aren't going out for cupcakes right now. They'll take the necessities. Her business is at a standstill. So we people can go to Talk Shop Live and submit their business, and you don't have to be in America. You can be in Canada, and your products. And she came on, and we did an event. We sold 600 pounds of banana bread. Not only did we sell 600 pounds of banana bread, she did a social distancing box, a banana bread and cupcake box, and we sold them out. And it hasn't stopped since. She did not have a mail order business, and now she ships internationally banana bread. And you would think a small little mom and pop, well, that's just a mom, bakery is a business that people, but now she's figured out a way to sell it, over the internet. Now she is and she's using this app and she can't keep up with it, and she's hiring people. So from a business that was locked down, this is a new way. And on the other side of this, she's still going to be using this.
It's a great story. It's forced a lot of people, this situation, to adapt and understand that the technology, you mentioned technology, that's underneath our fingertips. Like, we didn't do Zoom meetings before. We didn't, like, I flew to a year ago today. I flew to Israel to go meet with some people and float in the ocean or float in the, Dead Sea and do some other fun things. But, I question if I'm going to go and travel back that far, if I can just do this, you know what I mean?
If so you can do, but that's what we're talking about. We're talking about, if you're talking about the stock exchange, is the key to good business is productivity. How do you be more, how can you be more productive? Well, this is forcing us to be productive just because we're locked in. But this also allows us and has taught us how to maybe, instead of sitting on a flight to Israel for 15 or 16 hours, whatever it is from Toronto, that time right now, you could be having the meeting that you were flying there for, and we're looking at each other and talking to each other face to face. At the same time, you could probably attend another meeting in Toronto or Vancouver, 10 minutes later. So you can do whatever you need to do in Israel. You could do whatever you need to do in Canada. You could do, you could travel the world in a couple of hours and be equally or even more productive than you've ever been.
Yeah, and we'll still want to maintain those cultural experiences. I mean, we talk about comedy and business travel. I mean, there's nothing that quite mimics the being in a club and hearing a comic tell a joke in real time and using their talent in the real.
Well, for me, that's, I was being the glass is half full. For me, the comedy, even the writing, I love to go into small clubs all over the world. Even when I'm playing big events or I'm getting ready to do JFL, I drop in every night, and that's how I write. And whether I'm sitting here in my house and I have an idea and I think something's funny, I don't know if it's funny until I hear, that noise. I don't know that people are going to be even comfortable after this to be sitting in a little crowded room.
Well, we'll have to test that theory. Anil, I know you had a couple questions.
So I kind of wanted to get into the charity portion of the game that you guys have created. I know Howie, you mentioned, and Trevor has also, you guys have partnered with quite a few larger corporations. I know Amazon is one of them. Are you able to kind of go into that on how what the approach was when you went to these bigger corporations to have them partner with you for this cause?
Well, Trevor would probably, my partner who you already talked to, he was the guy that, we were just building this as, it was going to be a business, just a regular business for us. And then what I said, well, listen, we're doing this game called Outbreak. This is a perfect time. Why don't you put it on a website and go out? He went out, and because these are his partners in other ventures, he went out and said, we're doing these, and these big partners that, I guess you mentioned a couple of them, just came in and the game is free. Yeah. So we're just sending people to the website and they can donate every penny. We're not, none of it is going to operating costs. None of it is going to profit. All of it is just going to just try to get us through to the other side. So he just went out to corporations that we work with that may be part of the game and said, hey, this is what we're doing. We're releasing it early. It wasn't even going to be released yet, just so that we had a central point where people can maybe do something. And I'll tell you something, as scary as this is and as tough as this is on everybody, nothing feels better than to come up with a plan and kind of enact a way that maybe other people are helped.
Absolutely. Going back to your point where you mentioned 100% of the proceeds from this game, an initiative, go towards getting the PPE items for first responders and people on the front lines of healthcare. I think that's a very important part to emphasize on, that 100% of the proceeds are going towards getting this equipment for them. Because when it comes to a lot of charities at times, it's a very small portion that goes to it. So this kind of shows the passion that you guys have and the drive behind this cause to make sure that there's nothing coming into your pockets. Everything goes towards the charity. I think that definitely helps and build that confidence when people come download the game, are playing it, sharing it by getting the 100 points, or even the monetary donations that people are actively giving you guys or to the
Right. Right. Well, we're not, we are now, but we're not sometimes these big charities are huge businesses and they have big infrastructures where, you have the vice president and you have the secretary and you have the treasurer and you have a building and there is overhead in running certain charities. We don't have any overhead. We just created this site. We put the game on it, which was built anyway. We were building it for another business. People can download the business for free. So there's absolutely no overhead. Trevor and I are the two people involved. Trevor and I aren't taking a penny. So whatever money comes there will be directed to where it can be used properly.
Perfect. So on the topic of money, Howie, I got a call last night from my boss. He's the CEO, Richard Carlton. He said, look, if you're going to have Howie Mandel on the show, we got to help him out. So what we're going to do is we're going to hook up with your people after. We're going to help the charity. You don't need any help. But
I don't need help.
No, you're good. But what we are going to do, the Canadian Securities Exchange is going to pledge $5,000 to break out the masks to the charity. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you and your boss so much. And that is so, and you know what, even I would imagine you just announcing it. Doesn't that feel good?
Yeah, really? It feels great. It actually feels great. How do you feel, Anil?
No, I was excited about it since we found out, and I felt that it was only right that James, since you kind of went to bat for this, that you came on and announced it, and that was the other reason why there was a second person on our podcast.
Well, I just wanted to say,
yeah.
I can't tell you how thrilled I am that you guys would do that, and it's so wonderful, and it's so. There is more to be made. And I got to tell you, as somebody, and I think everybody's got to kind of reach out to businesses and to the community and to humanity and just do something, just a gesture. And whether that gesture is writing a check, whether that gesture is phoning somebody and say, how you doing? Whether that gesture is phoning another business because your business is down, but a similar business, and maybe collaborating and figuring out how they can work together the way they do, or downloading Talk Shop Live, or, just giving a couple of bucks to, to buy PPE for, it just feels good. And it feels like you're doing something, and it does move us forward.
Tell the joke. You know what? The humor has really helped. Go
or
find humor. Yeah. Tell someone a joke, or try to be funny, but not, in a bad way. But it's a bad attempt.
Be funny in a bad way. There's nothing at this point. The political correctness has gone by the wayside. That we've got more important things to worry about.
I've definitely noticed my jokes have gotten darker in quarantine.
Yeah, we've had some pretty we've had some rough ones, but calling the people you haven't called in a long time, and I find that usually if you have those friends, you feel like you can still call. It's because they make you laugh. And
even supporting, even if it's like supporting your local small business, there's essential businesses, rather than, sometimes the big box stores are doing well anyway because people are loading up, but go to that small mom and pop little sandwich shop, and these people are bending over backwards just to find a way to do business, whether they'll take orders over the phone and your credit card, then you can just go up to curbside and they drop it in your car. I mean, it means so much to these people, and it means so much to the infrastructure of our economy just to try to keep that going. And listen, we all got to eat. We all need things. Just direct those needs into places that'll do some good for your community.
Yeah, no, I feel that. We've got a bakery here that's still hanging on by a thread, and they're opening up 4 days a week up in Newmarket. Actually, it's in Aurora, which is a little bit south. But to go in every day and just see those people working. They're not wearing masks. They're not doing any of that. They're just trying to get by and help out. And baking.
They should be wearing masks. They should be wearing masks. They're preparing your food. They should be wearing masks, and they should be wearing gloves. So maybe you should just drop by and give them some masks and gloves and tell them.
If I could get them, I would, but it's good bread. You should check it out if you're here next time. But any final thoughts? Any final thoughts, guys? I don't want to take too much of your time out. I know you got 2 weeks, but
well, Howie, one of the initiatives we have at the CSE is to encourage a younger investor to look at the stock market, the different sectors of it. You being a Canadian entrepreneur, would you be able to give sort of any advice to a younger investor that's looking at the stock market during this time?
Well, I'm not an expert in the stock market, but the way I've kind of gone through my life, and I've done pretty good outside of even show business, in investing, in partnering, and or whatever. I use the same theory that I've always used, and it's kind of Nike's theory, and that's just do it. I think if you overthink, you know, what could or what should or what will, that you're kind of complicating it. I think when you look at the stock market and you look at businesses, and especially today, it's kind of easy and clear, based on, if you're a human being, based on, I think, what's going to work. Yeah. You know, I'm just saying, like, if you're, you know, if there's a company that is manufacturing gloves and masks, I mean, for lack of a better, you know, that might be a good investment right now. You don't have to be a genius to know that might be a good investment right now.
I love Netflix and Disney. You know, what are people doing right now? What are they going to continue to do?
Well, that's actually, but there you go. Yeah. So that you don't have to be an economist to say, I bet you there's a safe investment in those two, you know? But that's what I'm saying. I find that in life and in business and in relationships and whatever, people have a tendency to overthink.
Right.
And I think as a human species, instinct is our gold. It really is our instinct. And too many times we go shoulda, coulda, woulda, you know, and if you just did it and you stuck to these things, you know, I think people watch too closely. And that's
a good point. That's a good point. Because when we were cavemen, we weren't contextualizing stuff. We didn't have a worldview. It was, how do I get food? How do I survive? And you're basing that on an internal locus of instinct, not, yeah. Wow. Way to break it down, Howie.
But I think that's it. You know, when I was a kid, my dad was in the stock market. My dad was sold stock. You know, he was in the stock. But then, you know, there it was like bricks and mortar, and it was kind of easy. You know, it was like fourth grade math. You could see the value. You could see what the sales were. You know what they were buying. You knew how to invest. Now it's kind of, you know, a lot of these because of technology and because of the Silicon Valley and because of the new ways of doing business. But this is probably an exciting to get into the stock market, because I think that things that were not as 3 weeks ago, or
we've got a problem.
Listen, if you want to get into the stock market and you want to invest, it's kind of like going to Vegas. So it's fun to go to Vegas. You know, you have a certain, when most people go to Vegas, you have a certain amount of money that you take to Vegas, and you're willing to lose that money and no further. In as far as investment, I think even though you invest to win, you should not be dented by losing. You know, so that's how you play the game. If you're going to put your money on the table, you got to be willing to lose it. And if you're not, if it's going to hurt you and kill you, then you shouldn't make that investment, good, bad, or indifferent. You shouldn't make that investment anyway. But if you're going to make that investment, you should be willing to lose it, but not bet on a loss. Yeah. And then you have a good chance of winning.
I think that's probably a great way to wrap this up and have a takeaway. I definitely want to encourage everybody that's listening to this to go to howiesgames.com, find out more details on the charity. Feel free and download the game as well. There's all the details on the partners and probably on some of the other games and initiatives that Howie is working on as well. James, do you have anything else to?
Yeah, I know. Just want to thank you, Howie. Thank you for being a great Canadian, a great ambassador for our nation.
You know what's weird? You guys are, here's the thing. This is the weird part. You guys are wrapping it up and saying goodbye. I told you I have no place to go. So you continue doing what you're doing, and I'm gonna be the guest that never leaves the podcast.
Well, I just wanted to get something digestible for the podcast. We can shoot the shit. I know Anil actually has questions. He actually has questions that are aside from the main discussion. He wants to know a few things about your career. So if you have a few minutes for a bonus chat, I want to give.
Oh, this is a bonus? No, whatever you want.
Well, I actually found out recently that, you know, not only are you, well, I've always known that you're an entrepreneur when it comes to comedy and business, but I found out that you own Just for Laughs. And
yeah, I'm one of the partners in that.
Okay.
I'm one of the partners in Just for Laughs. It's an amazing, it was an amazing opportunity, number one, to get involved. And number two, you know, I was there right at the beginning, and I know everybody who's anybody at JFL when it first started. And when there was an opportunity to get involved, I've always had a passion for that business and to grow that business. My frustration with JFL has always been, it is the mecca of everything comedy. And anything that anybody has ever seen that put a smile on your face, whether it be in a film, in a television show, in stand-up, or in an album, has some connection to Just for Laughs. And, you know, it really does. And whether it's the writer, whether it's the director, whether it's somebody who's performed there, whether it was somebody who was discovered there or whatever, we run, like everybody knows Coachella. Coachella runs 600,000 people through over their 2 weekends. Just in our Montreal event at the end of July, which has been postponed now till October, we run over 2 million people through. So we're bigger than Coachella. And what bothers me is outside of Canada or outside of comedy and outside of Montreal, people don't know what JFL is, like they know what Coachella is, like, you know, with the, you know, any of these other festivals. And what my initiative is to kind of shine a light on the brand. You know, I know when I'm a lot older than you guys, but when I was growing up, the brand for comedy was National Lampoon. That's you know, right. And National Lampoon was a magazine, and then it was a brand, and, you know, you'd see movies, National Lampoon's Vacation, and I would like to do the same thing without changing the infrastructure of, you know, Montreal. You know, we do a festival, satellite festival in Toronto and in Vancouver, Northwest. We do it there, and in Sydney, Australia. I just want to kind of expand the brand and find new and interesting ways to do things. You know, there should be, we're bringing in podcasts. There should be live streaming. One of the reasons that Coachella got so known is Beyonce, for the first time, did it was live on YouTube with the biggest audience they ever had. So all these millions of people who've never been to Coachella know about Coachella. So we're going to be doing things like that. So we are at this point, and it's kind of exciting. This is only my second year as a partner, but we were bringing in some digital plays, kind of like this, where people could tune in and, you know, live podcasts, live performances, digital interaction, bringing in gamers and you know, sports into it and music into it that hasn't been part of it.
Yeah, I was laughing there for a minute because I was thinking about Coachella, and the reason Anil and I probably know it is because of hologram Tupac. So,
absolutely.
I mean, that was so crazy, and that put it on the map. But that was them trying to do something different, right? And you look at.
But that's exactly why. What makes it noisy? What makes it? Yeah. Even if you look at the Fire Festival, as much as that crashed, you know, the promotion on that, the fact that it's about collaboration and engaging, you know, the fact that he got every Instagram model and all these other people for that promo, people were signing up. He just couldn't bring it to fruition. But that was a new and interesting way to conduct your business, to maybe sell tickets, to maybe get people. So you look at all these businesses and they kind of, you know, create new opportunities.
Yeah, and we're going to see it in our world because we have all these people popping up, and the ones that do exist as well, wanting to do virtual, you know, business conferences, right? Like, you know, basically investor conferences, people pitching their companies to investors online. So there's going to have to be that trust, which I think we've established in the last 20 years of investors trusting what they see and hear on the internet. You know, and we might get to a point where a physical event, like a big conference where you have 20, 30,000 people to learn about investment, just might not be what people want to do anymore. It's just too much logistics.
Maybe
comedies, maybe, I don't know. Yeah,
or maybe there's another way to doing it, or maybe there's a technology out there that's even more advanced than this that can make it easier and simpler. This is, you know, it's really amazing to watch our technology. And I don't know that there's been any time on this earth when technology has been so far ahead of the creativity. You know, from the beginning of time, when they invented the wheel, the wheel because they knew that they wanted to go from A to B in a kind of a smoother, they kind of figured out
it was linear.
Or they invented fire because that would warm the food and they could eat the food. We're creating technology without even knowing what we can do with it. You know,
so what you're saying is that there's different ways of exporting comedy and entertainment that we're not even touching.
or marketing, or just all of our economy and all of our, you know, like you would have never dreamed, you know, I do a lot of corporate events, and this is 5-6 years ago, but even robotics, you know, in medicine, you know, I was at a convention and we watched a guy live doing surgery. The surgeon was in Germany. Wow. He was operating a robot and the patient was in America, you know?
I hope there's no lag or interference when that happens, but yeah.
Well, I hope not, but the point was that they can do that. You don't have to, the doctor does not have to be in the room. No. The doctor doesn't even have to be in the country. And we have the technology to do that. So what is that? Like, I just told you what they did with it, but I would imagine there's other things that can be done remotely that haven't been done before.
Yeah, we may never have to leave our house again. No, it's incredible. We've got I interviewed a guy the other day. He does drone technology. Actually, he's based in LA, and he's one of our clients. And talking about, now this is a little 1984ish, but flying drones over crowds and doing biomarking, basically diagnosing people by temperature, by you know, heat signature to see if they are potentially sick. Which you might love this idea, but so when you go to a big crowd,
love that. I'm going to buy a drone. Well, just to fly over my family and the people I work with.
Exactly. You can fly it over the AFL studios, wherever, you know, I'm assuming that's on a big lot somewhere in Hollywood. But the, yeah, I mean, just one discussion we've had kind of continually though, Howie, is what rights are we going to have to give up to have the benefit of technology in our life? You know, you look at GPS, and I'm okay to give up my location 90% of the time. I mean,
you know, that's the difference between you and me. I don't think like that.
No.
Let it happen, and then we'll worry about it. Right now, the technology, first of all, the technology exists. Figure out how you're going to use the technology. And then if there's an adverse effect, then figure out how you're going to combat that. But I don't think that worrying about something before it comes to fruition is why that's what slows down the process. And I think that we can't slow down the process. We just have to adapt and adopt.
Yeah, and I mean, you saw that in the automobile industry where people were really overthinking the electric car. They just go, well, you know, this and that. And it's like, no, it's just.
And I'll tell you, it's the best car on the market, the Tesla.
Yep.
And people were there before him, you know, trying to figure out how to do it, and then he just did it, and that's the difference. So, and he took the market, and just do it. Nike's right.
No, yeah, exactly. If there are a few more Elon Musks in the world, but yeah. Okay. Now, Anil,
we are. You know, I believe that everybody's Elon Musk. The only difference between Elon Musk and anybody else, and I talked on CNBC about this, the only difference between Elon Musk or Branson, you know, Richard Branson, is or Steve Jobs, is they did it and you didn't. Yeah. You know, they're human beings like you and me. They had a passion for something. They locked themselves in their garage and they did it. And if you think of these ideas or look at these ideas before they came to fruition, they're crazy. But they had so much passion. They didn't care. They just did it. And the naysayers were just noise in the background. And
you gotta have that thick skin, just like a comic. You gotta have that thick skin. You gotta be able to go up on stage every night. As an entrepreneur, you gotta stand up there every day. So our slogan, the Exchange for Entrepreneurs, and what we're passionate about are those individuals that say, look, if you hired me, I would be the worst employee that you've ever had. I'd be the worst because, you know, my vision is more important and my ability to do stuff. I trust myself so much as an entrepreneur that I'm just going to go do it. And that is, I
love that.
Yeah.
And on that note,
I'm out
of here.
You're out of here. Well, yeah, Howie, thanks again. Thanks for being a great Canadian. Thanks for sharing your passion for entrepreneurship and for the charity that we're going to give you $5,000 for.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. On behalf of myself, Anil, the CSC,
Thank you very much.
You have an awesome day.
Stay safe and healthy. Bye-bye.
You too, man. All right, bye.